So like we've been talking before the shows on all the shows, mostly me, and it picks it up, even though it didn't show it's live yet.
Well, it just depends on which one it is. It's I think it's like a couple seconds, but when you hit the replay, it doesn't show up.
It doesn't?
No, because I saw the replay with Morgan and Michael, and it didn't even show up. But I caught the live when you were talking, and then the intro.
Yeah. Well, if it does, it does. I've been busted before. We got 12 people in the house. We're gonna play this original. You'll recognize the music. This lady from Germany, when I was doing Soul Speaks, which are not rapping and not singing, but something in the middle. This lady from Germany, because I put them out on Facebook and YouTube. And this lady from Germany in this group I was in, there was only 50 people in this group. And she's like, I want to make one of those. I said, just speak it into your phone and send it to me, and then I'll find some music. So she spoke into her phone, sent it to me. I found some music, then we both put together the video. So we're going to play this 3 minutes and 33 seconds. Then we're going to come right back, and we'll be having our show for the next hour and a half, 2 hours. See you in a minute.
Hello, sister. Do you think you know who you are? Do you think you know what you can do? I'm telling you, you don't know a thing about yourself as long as you think you're limited. Why am I telling you? Why am I so fierce at this moment? I'm telling you, I did think I knew who I am. All the time I would be mild and gentle and peaceful and a humble being, and it's perfect to be like this. You know what I mean? It is perfect to be all this. And I tell you, I still am. But there's the other part of me, of you, of anybody, of us. Whatever you are practicing all the time, all the years of your life, what you think you're good at, what you should improve, and what you should be perfect in, because you're born with it. I'm telling you, there's much more in each of you. My case, this you feel, you hear now, this fierce energy, this fire, and this pressure. Well, so much pressure because I've held it back all my life. What the hell did I do? I'm exploding, my goodness. You see, maybe it's not your part to learn this one. But I'm telling you, don't rely on that what you think you are. Don't rely on that what people are mirroring you and telling you what you shall do or be. Just find out, just do it. Go on, try yourself, make mistakes, fall and fall and fall again, and get up again. You cannot fail, you cannot do anything wrong. Just do it. Do it. Get back your natural energy. Get back your natural being. Your whole natural being. No matter if you're young or old. If you're a man or a woman. No matter which country you've been raised. No matter whatever people told you are. No matter whatever ever you thought you will be. Just be serious with yourself. Just be honest with yourself. Feel all the little things that want to come up in you and want to be expressed and lived and felt. Just go. Live it. Be it.
That's my friend Ulrike Kuseke from Germany. That's a freestyle. She freestyled that into her phone and sent it to me. Can you believe that? Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. She is. She's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So I'm going to try something a little different today. We don't have any sponsors. We are going to have the Soulogy Network kicking off in about 10 days. I think we're going to try to do it 11/11. And so we're looking for sponsors because it costs a lot of money. And we're going to do this thing. We're going to have multiple channels, and we're going to have a website. Thank you, Marina Govier, and your magic. But yeah. But one of the people that has contributed stuff to us is Scott Ware over at Radiance Magazine. I don't know if y'all know Scott Ware. He's out of LA, and he has a magazine that he delivers on the West Coast, Radiance Magazine. And at no cost, he's put several Soulogy pages in there. He put one of Morgan's pieces. And anyway, if you guys are on the West Coast, look for Radiance Magazine. If you're anywhere in the country that's a pretty good city and you'd like to get some copies sent to you and distribute them, please contact me or contact Scott Ware, and I'll get you, or contact me and I'll get you in touch with him. I'm sleepy this morning. I know Michael is. You were talking about, Delia, you were talking about what? Somebody was talking about the show with Michael?
Oh, yes. Man, that was
Michael
powerful.
And Morgan. Yeah.
That the entire time I was drinking water, I literally drank 2.5 liters of water just the entire show. I was like, how am I drinking? How am I still thirsty? It was just a lot of stuff, and it was just like mind-blowing. And then it kind of just put another perspective towards label, because this is one of the things that I've caught myself doing. I've dealt with, and this is a key word, I am balancing hormonal issues within my body. So if I say I'm claiming that label. And I'm like, ooh, powerful. I am balancing those issues and shifting towards I do not have any.
Yes, that sounds right. That's kind of like what I've seen somebody write, what Morgan's been talking about, like getting to to anything that isn't clear. It's coming up. I think that's what Franco said last week. The next 4 or 5 weeks are going to be something like that. Yeah, that show with Michael and Morgan on YouTube, you get some pretty good metrics because Facebook doesn't give them to me. But there's been like 43 comments. We usually get about 4. Been about 1,400 views. Really interesting comments too. Really
it was a lot of people. I did go back and see that because I was doing inventory. I was like, might as well do something fun. Listen to some higher vibrational, and then he was just, how can I put this? The 31st beginning, I felt the energy just shift completely. And yesterday, I think when we're supposed to roll back the time, I don't know what it was, but I literally thought I woke up in the middle of the night, and I thought, oh my God, I woke up. And then I was checking my watch because I sleep track. There's a spiking where I wake up, and then I was like, oh, I thought I woke up. And then I started realizing I actually projected from a dream to another dream, but I got hit. And the thing that woke me up was Schumann resonance, kind of like that frequency. And I checked the Schumann resonance. It wasn't high, but it felt like I got hit with light and sound, and I felt like something shifted. And then yesterday, I just felt completely happy, so on higher vibration, kind of like a happy high.
Yeah. I forgot about that time change. That would have been yesterday morning at 2:00 in the morning. Yeah. And so like last night I went to bed, we connected, Morgan said a few things, and then I just started getting downloaded like crazy. She fell asleep about an hour later. I had to get up out of bed. I laid on the couch with my eyes wide open, no TV, nothing for 3 hours. Yeah. What about you, Michael? I know you're all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed this morning. Oh, you're
muted? You got muted.
Oh, wait a second. Hang on. That's me. He was coughing earlier. Sorry about that. Go ahead. You were coughing during the song, and I turned you on mute.
Throat chakra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I had a great experience with Morgan, and there was a lot that stood out, but one of my favorite, one of the things she expressed that I thought was really profound was the morphic field and how we move back into like the subjugation of conceptual notions when we give ourselves to these labels energetically. And so I thought that how she articulated that in conversation was really powerful. And I know that really touched a lot of people. It touched me because, like I mentioned during the show, that the politics of attachment, like that's like the spirit of the poem, is right, transcending all labels, right, and all the energy we're bound by. But I loved how she expressed more and she gave detail and kind of showed us the process and what happens. And especially right now, I think that once awareness has reached a certain level of depth inside of us, it's really important that we use all of our energy to start witnessing exactly what thoughts, emotions, verbal transactions, and actions in the world we're taking. It's like start really processing how we're creating in the world and what we're creating with. And I think like right now it's an important time, especially there's a lot of energy going around. You have the election tomorrow here in the United States. So it's like, be aware of what lives inside of you and what you're creating with, what you're putting out in the world and what you want to identify with. If you're still identified with the world, then you're still kind of perpetuating unconsciously your own suffering and your own pain. So yeah, it was amazing. And I thought she just radiated. It was a great experience for me.
I know, man. She's fucking hot. I told you. Man, I thought you were sleepy. You came out with this. My mind's trying to keep up with you. I almost had to get my dictionary out. Oh, Michael, I thought you were sleepy. I didn't think you were a morning person. I actually was up this morning thinking, God, I don't feel like a morning person right now. And I started thinking about you. No. I was like, oh, Michael didn't get
I'm an afternoon person. Like 2 o'clock, I'm in my prime.
Yeah. Except for Mondays.
Yeah.
For Mondays. Yeah. So Allison of New York, everybody knows she's very involved. She's part of Soulogy. She's just more of a unicorn than Morgan is. Because none of us have even seen her face, I don't think. Or you have. Oh, you have. So she said it'd be cool if the in the titles or the description there'd be some type of way to, like what they call metatext, where you put, people's names and the subject so people could search for it. That's the kind of thing we need help with. It might not be such a problem, but for the website, it'd be good to have that. So I'm just bringing that up. And anyone who's interested in video editing, that would be a big help for what we're fixing to do. Right on. So what else is happening? Did you guys rest this weekend? Did you get a lot of rest? I had to.
It did feel like that, but at the same time, I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. It's very weird.
I feel like I did, but at the same time, there's like so much going on.
Yeah. It's moving.
I think what's most amplified, I think both outside and inside, is the desire to project. And I think that's because if you haven't developed enough awareness, then our inner process kind of lacks and we don't know how to exchange. So like out in the world, you see everyone doesn't realize that all of their affliction literally is a reflection of their own inner world.
Yeah.
And so all of the affliction and all of the projection and all of the judgment, I think it's at an apex. But at the same time, like if we can bear witness, it's reached an apex, which means that it's ready to shift. And so I think that if we could just continue to focus our energy inside, I think that we'll add a piece. We'll transmit a piece into the world that the collective kind of needs. And I think just really finding that collective mirror is important. There's, I I think as we continue to shift, all of us shift consciousness and move out of duality and into pure consciousness, we just have to know where we still identify with something other than the nameless state, and I just think that that's critical right now. And I just feel like you just see out in the world, which it's perfect, everything's playing out perfectly, and there's no there should be no judgment, and we shouldn't even rush the progression, because energy's dissolving and transforming in each human being, and it's dictated on the ratio and the amount of energetics that are suppressed within that individual form. So just kind of consistently seeing that, honoring these laws, and if we're triggered outside, which Morgan talked a lot about, she talked about like having like an internal alarm system. Every time she's triggered, or every time she feels an urge or falls into judgment, she says there's an internal alarm. That's judgment. Look inside, and I think that'll be big. I'm really curious to see how the next few days play out, because there's a lot going on, not just in the United States, but the whole world. And I think, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I can feel that urgency building in everybody's psyche and heart, and I think just trying to find, I keep calling it the invisible thread, just trying to find it and know that everything's on time right now and it's playing out the way it's meant to.
Yeah, I keep saying this. I want to ask David Icke in one way or another. So, like, given all the research he's done and everything he's looked into and everything he's pulled down, like all that stuff that woke us up, as horrific and crazy and wild as it seems, does not the zero pointing that takes place within ourselves, the divine union, the trajectory of divine union, sacred union, does it not have more power than all that put together, even if it's just coming from one soul? So that's, I think, what you're referring to. And like before we started the show, Delia was saying, I said, what's going on? She goes, I got a place. Everything's clear. Like the smoke is clearing. And she said she knows it has, it's directly because of the zero pointing she's been doing. So, I mean, these are just examples, but I think that's what we're getting to, because it's like we're not allowed to let a thought go anymore, or ignore or deny something that keeps popping up, even if it's just a thought or a memory or a prejudice or a bias or something. It's like staying there, and it won't go away until you deal with it, and then you go on to the next one.
Yeah.
I think that's a new way of life, at least for the time being.
I love that. Yeah. And I think that a metric for understanding where we are within our own psyche and our own emotional body is, if thought continues to replay itself, I always think of it like a highlight reel, then you know that there's an experience within you that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Right. And then emotionally, if the same feeling comes up, then you know there's an emotion that's still experiencing suppression. So it's like, really, what's really, I think, fascinating too about the mind is, in order for us to become an aperture point for the light of the spirit to shine through us, we need to neutralize all of the energy that's become stagnant. So when we see that once energy starts to become neutralized, the mind opens up for creativity. So one of the metrics right now is, what are you creating? Like, are you talking about other people? Are you always afflicted? Are you always angry? Are you always judging the traffic light, the people, the clerk, the this, right? Like, if you are, you're seeing the type of energy that lives in your form. But as soon as that energy becomes neutralized, you literally will feel that you start becoming a cylinder for absolute and infinite creation. And that's when you're going to write a song, write a poem, write music, come up with a play, come up with some sort of conversation. So it's like, if we just want to know where we are individually in our own heart, what happens when you put your phone down, when you're not eating a delicious meal, and when you're not in conversation with a friend, what type of thoughts are your mind is your mind formulating, and what kind of emotions are you experiencing in your body? This is where you're at. This is how much separation you're experiencing or how much love you're experiencing. Like whenever I want to know where I'm at or check in with myself, I go into my room and I don't distract myself, and I'll feel exactly where I'm at inside of my heart. And I think that's a really good metric. And someone wrote on here, what's the fastest process to neutralizing projection or a trigger? And I would say it's to feel it fully, to embrace the experience, to not turn from it, to not judge it, and to not label yourself or the other. It would be to feel it so deeply that you get uncomfortable with the thoughts and feelings coming up. And then I think that when we do that, the energy starts to neutralize on its own, because awareness in itself is, I always talk about, it's a chisel, right? Like just being aware and feeling, all of a sudden the energy starts to transmute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the one you're talking about, Melissa.
It's like finding the invisible little wiggle or that dirty string that's inside of you, because you're still holding on to something there, and learning to find it and realize what the trigger is. I mean, it's a slow process, but once you start realizing what the trigger is and you start seeing it. And besides that, I take the process of working with the energy. It's more just cutting the cord, what's cutting cord per se, but it's more of releasing that and transmuting the energy and to release it fully and accept it. It's like integration, but fully accept something within that, because there's still a separation, there's still a wound, and there's still something there that needs to be cleared. And it's just that holding of the pain. It's just in realizing and taking in. It's like, yeah, okay, this is where I'm at. Okay, I can be peace with what it is, because in reality of it is, I'm no longer there. Sometimes it's like kind of splatter, kind of reminds you back again. Is, do you want to continue or do you want to shift? Do you want to continue or do you want to shift?
Yeah. Now, so like you deal with it in your head, and if you don't deal with it in your head, because you've been given several opportunities and they're coming more frequently, then it's going to happen. I would think it's going to happen outside of yourself, right?
Yeah.
Smacks you right in the face with events.
Yeah.
Here's a question, Ruchika. Can you talk on fear and how to overcome it? You guys want to take that on?
Yeah. Fear. Well, fear is the state of thought and emotion suppressed in the psyche and the heart and all of the energy centers. And we're moving out of fear and into love. And so the most important thing is acknowledging what you're afraid of. Typically, whenever I acknowledge what I'm afraid of or what I don't want to do is typically what I have to do. And so it's facing it, not not turning away from it, not getting distracted. And I think that right now, the only thing we really, really need to do, if we're able to, is to just acknowledge it. Because if you feel fear and you start to project it, you're literally perpetuating karmic loops and creating new timelines with the energy. But if you just acknowledge it, it's dissolving, because there's two things happening. One is we've moved into the new paradigm. The new grid's already been formed, and the human body is mutating. So our body was meant to suppress energy in the old paradigm. It was meant to, because we wanted, as the universe, to experience a reality created in fear and stagnant energy. But now that we're shifting consciousness, the new reality, right? The body's mutated and fear can no longer be held, which is why the world isn't getting worse. People aren't getting more angry or feeling more separated without. That's all of the energy that's been suppressed within each human and within the collective. So now that we're moving into love, why we see such an outburst of, expression when it comes to separation, ideation, dogmatic thinking, fundamentalism, racism, homophobia, all of these energies. It's because these were all collective energies, vibrational signatures of separation that held the physical form in separation. So now that we're experiencing pure consciousness, no human has to do anything. The world doesn't have to do anything. We are literally being stripped. But if we acknowledge it, the process is accelerated. But if we don't acknowledge it and we get so afraid and we start projecting the fear, we'll stay stuck in it longer and we'll just slow down the process, a process that's inevitable. So I think it's just acknowledging that you're shifting, it's happening to all of us, and not continue to co-create with the fear. Just let it be, let it pass. I love that. From what is it? This too shall pass. Yeah. I like that mantra.
Delia, how do you step through fear?
Well, just realizing what someone goes through, I can only talk about experience. And I do agree with what Morgan said. Traumatic events create unconscious programs that also need to be reprogrammed back to self-love and self-empowerment. And that exactly right there, you get back to like, when did I become separated from who I was? And I talked through just basically my experience. Before, I would not travel outside of my radius of my safety of my home back in LA, maybe just 2 cities, one side or to the other. I wouldn't even go back or forth, just the radius. I wouldn't even travel further than that. And that was just comfort. And it was me working through fear. And I wouldn't even travel on transit without headphones, without something telling me to work through my anxiety. And it took a long time to get back into that. But I knew that there was a state within it with the awakening that was happening and getting back into the reality of it, where I realized who had I become to who I was then. Somewhere along the lines, I also lost part of myself to becoming once again the newborn person. Because that every day we die 1,000 deaths. We're not the same person as we were yesterday. We're not the same person in the thought processes and everything else. It goes back to thought process a lot for me.
Yeah.
And if they're not dealing with it, and they're not adjusting that fear, and they're not adjusting those issues, whatever issues they are, and they're not being addressed, it comes up in the field over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Self-awareness.
And it gets more painful, right?
Yeah.
I think the number's up to 10,000 deaths a day now. I think it was 1,000 like a month ago. Now it's 10,000 times we die a day. I like what Michael said earlier. It wasn't in response to this question, but when he said just the words, "What are you creating?" Like when I hear those words now, it's like that's what I hear. That's what I hear the calling is now. Just spend your time in rhythm, creating every day. Don't try to light it all up in one day or 1 hour or one show or one post. Just plug away every day and just keep feeding that. Because I think, what I get from it is if you do have a block creating, to me, then I know there's something going on. You know what I mean? That's another way to find it. But I like that. To me, that's like like the old saying in football, what's the best defense? A good offense, right?
Yeah.
It also reminds me when Michael was kind of pulling through the poem that he was writing for you about you, that it was coming in pieces for him.
Yeah.
And it was also being in the alignment of the energy. And sometimes when you're not doing something, and that's how some of my poems have come out, is as I'm doing something, an entirely different thing, then it's like, ooh, I gotta pop in my on my phone, I'll start writing something, and then I'll leave it, and then I'll come back to it when I feel the energy just pulling through. And it's also, being open in the alignment, because we're not putting resistance. And sometimes we put in resistance. So I heard someone really wise say this regarding blocks. Says you keep asking blocks to be removed. Sometimes there's no blocks to be removed. So when you ask an angel, please remove a block, they have to create a block to remove it because you've asked a block to be removed. to me, that was like, oh, that's interesting.
That is. I think that's connected to what Michael was talking about earlier with what everybody's experiencing. They think they're experiencing something externally, but it's actually their internal stuff. And that made a lot of sense to me what he said, because if you look at the pattern in your individual path, and then like if you're lucky enough like me to be in a couple where you have, a fast track element to it, things come up before they can be released. Like some things have to come up or be presented in such a loud way, and that's getting softer and softer in order for the awareness to kick in. You know what I mean? It's like the universe screams in your ear.
Yeah.
We've all had those moments, whether we're with somebody or not. But yeah, I see a connection there. I really do. And I like that little story because it's true. You're like creating something. It's almost like waking up saying, okay, what's wrong with me today? What do I need to heal? When there's actually nothing to heal. Right?
Yeah, exactly. That perpetual program, the monkey brain that we've been overall programmed in the past to continue. And it's like, you got to let go there's overall things to fix.
Yeah.
You've been doing the work. Give yourself credit.
There's BP Jewel, who's our neighbor here in Arkansas.
I love that.
We have a history. And, I can't say it. She divulged the secret to me last night at dinner, but I can't tell anybody as bad as I want to. But she says sometimes a program or block. This is what that story was. Sometimes a program or block is thinking you have a program or block. Period.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Boom. Exactly. Next subject. That tied it all up right there.
Exactly.
So, Michael, did you have a pretty smooth weekend? Was it smooth, or were you depleted? Or what happened?
Depleted. I slept a lot, and I've eaten a lot. A lot. Like all I've done is sleep and eat. No, just exploring. I love having experiences, no matter how uncomfortable they are, or how beautiful they seem. Just to know where I'm processing, what I'm thinking, and how I'm relating to the outside world from inside. So I think something I've been really exploring is cause and effect, and how we align with cause and effect. So it's like whatever we are creating in the world, there's going to be a ripple and there's going to be an energetic response, right? So it's like we're leaving a world where everything was derived from desire and fear, lack and scarcity. And we're moving into a new state of being where now everything is us moving as a conduit and as an expression of infinite possibility and design. And so I think just in knowing, like, right, when we used to need to be somewhere or be something, or even the desire to be seen, to be heard, all of those things start dissolving once the spirit starts moving back into the body. Because when you become an eternal expression in the physical, you're literally not looking for anything outside of you. And what was embedded within your soul before you entered the physical becomes fully actualized, unlocked, and you just start to move in rhythm and unison with the flow. So I just think, like, where you see all of the, the pain and the discomfort is everyone's going against their natural design, which they were meant to. We all were meant to, but now we're coming back into the spirit. So I've just been in deep recognition of where I'm at, honoring it, seeing it, knowing that I'm very much in the embodiment stage still, purging, clearing. I made a good friend yesterday, and a new friend, we were talking on the phone. And one thing she said, and I would love to hear your guys' take on this, is she said she would really, really love the spiritual communities and the conversations to talk more about the darkness. She was like, we've heard a lot about the love and light and rainbows. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's like, I really want to hear about that, like, I don't want to live anymore type of darkness. And I really understood that, because most of my journey, especially from the initial awakening, has been a progression through sheer darkness, what you call the holy darkness, sheer darkness, and knowing that for me, this is why in the poem I wrote, there's no way to heaven except through hell, right? And that's something I really wanted to experience through you, because I know your journey was so painful, and I felt like you articulated
That's
it.
that's how you refer to it. I say nothing raises hell like the light.
Yeah.
But she brings up a good point.
Yeah.
But for me, like as you were saying that, what she was saying, I thought of all the times that I said, "Get me out of here. I want to go." Suicidal thoughts. And one thing about people that are really suicidal, they don't talk about it. They just do it. And I've learned that from experience. And so I knew I was full of shit. But as you were saying, reading her or conveying her question or request, I started to think, because we just talked about it. Well, is that a program too?
Yeah.
Is that a program? I mean, that's just basically, energetically medicating yourself or putting yourself in denial or disassociation or whatever. So as I was, kind of concluding that little stream, I thought, well, you don't really do that anymore. I did it this year. I did it 4, 5, 6 times this year. I probably haven't done it in 90 days, maybe 4 months. You know what I'm talking about? That moment where you're just like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
I don't want to be here. I no matter what you put in front of you, you're just like in this solitude, and it always turns out good, But yeah, I agree. I don't think, like, in terms of, I think in terms of, hey, we've all gone through it. We all go through it. If you're going through it, it's okay. Let's talk about the people. It's kind of like Morgan talks about contacting your future self. Like, you might hear from a mirror in you when they're talking about checking out, or that moment that she's describing. You might hear from one of your mirrors, and it's like talking to your future self. They might be at a higher frequency with that. They might have overcome it already, a higher alignment, just like you would have things vice versa.
Can you read off Morgan's comment, brother, or put it on there?
Yeah. This one. So many suicidal thoughts are really just one aspect of self wanting to die. In the letting that part die, we expand back to love. Yeah. That's a good point.
And I was that comment she wrote, Israel and I were kind of talking about that last night.
Yeah.
Because he's definitely he's really going through it and shifting and feeling it, but he has a lot of awareness, so he understands, and he's been swimming in the void. And last night we were talking, and what Morgan wrote is, we were talking about that these feelings and these thoughts, they originate in the death of all the identities that are taking place within us right now. So it's like we're being stripped of all these identities, and really it's we're moving out of one world and we haven't reached the new world yet, right? So you could say going from 3D to 5D. So you're in that 4D, that purgatorial state. I think Yogananda calls it the wasteland. It's where you're no longer identified with the pain body or the ego, but you haven't shifted consciousness. So the spirit hasn't moved back into the soul or the heart yet. So you're just in between waiting. I actually personally like thought that I've had over the years is I think that's where a lot of those brilliant musicians, they call it like the curse, like what is it?
27?
27.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of those brilliant receptors were no longer in 3D, but they hadn't reached 5D, and they were just staying in that purgatorial state where you saw they were clear conduits and bringing forth mastery as far as the art that was moving through them. But I felt like they had such a deep desire to reach that new state of consciousness.
Like overload, right? That's so weird you're talking about that. We laid down last night. I told you what happened. She went to sleep I laid there. I was getting downloaded like at warp speed. It was having an effect on my body. My whole body was tingling. I got up. I went and laid down. And one of the thoughts I had during this massive multi-stream, for 3 hours on the couch was, do you remember? I had like 150, 200 seizures from the age of 15 to 50. And I've been shown why that process happened, different aspects of it many times. But last night I was shown that basically it was just a freaking overload, right? Like my body could not handle it. And I saw the seizure, and I saw like I went up and I got worked on and I came back down. But to me, that's like an example of what you're talking about. It's almost like those people like Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison. There was a recent one, Kurt Cobain. There was Amy Winehouse. They were all 27. But it's almost like that they overloaded their body. Like there's no way they could stay. I get what you're saying. Very cool.
Delia.
I'm just there's a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
I'm like, my heart's racing because it reminds me of when they say people that say it, they don't do it. I didn't say it. I was working out one time. There was getting hit with multiple things, and I decided, like, I'm done. And I was like, in my mind, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get ready, and I'm going to say bye to everybody, and they're not going to know. Like, my mind was committed while I was finishing. And in that moment, when I made my mind, there's an energy that came into my energy field, and it shifted 180. And it felt like I was in high energy for 3-4 days. And what I got from it was, I still have business to finish. I have journey to go on to. So it's always a lot of people that talk to me sometimes like, oh, you can do this, you can do that. Even friends or intuitive people, they're always like, there's always this split possibilities with you. You can do one thing or you can do another. And it's always that choice. And I'm like, no, I'm going to continue doing what I need to be doing because I feel a strong pull towards the reason I'm here. I don't want to continue doing this human thing. And I'm like, if I'm going to be of service to something or to the other side, I will love to work with other people in the other side and other forms that I've been, just because I know and I remember that energy and how it feels. But it was interesting for me. And it was just like that memory and everything that's
trippy.
Coming back.
That's trippy. Has that ever happened to you, Michael? I don't think that's ever happened to me. Like where I'm in that state, and then another energy, I guess another aspect of me comes in, or like Morgan said, the one that was acting out or whatever, present, maybe it left at that time or transformed at that time. I've never felt that though. That sounds pretty amazing. You ever had that happen?
No.
That's trippy, man.
Well, it was funny though, because it was also with other people that used to be my friends that were highly intuitive, and they went over to their house and they were like, what was that? And they were like, I didn't say anything. And they're like, I felt the energy. And then they were telling me too, is the energy within the area. And they were also affected that they felt happy for an entire week.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't know what it was, but I always call it divine intervention for those things.
Absolutely.
Once I commit my mind to something, I 100%
agree.
Go for it.
Yeah, and the divine intervention, divine episodes I can relate to. But I guess it works that way, because, for instance, like Morgan and I went by Area 51, right? Area 51 and this other part in Nevada, like one right after the other. And you could feel the energy shift. And even in Vegas, we went through Vegas, and it was very weird. And I transmuted stuff that night. It was crazy. But I guess if you can go into a space and feel that type of wobbly, discomforting energy, you can feel the opposite. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Like a portal.
How do you feel from Sedona? Have you integrated all of your experiences from Sedona, in that energy?
Well, I said before, it's like my 6th trip there. It was the smoothest ride. Mm-hmm. It was absolutely busy but smooth. But I did think about that the other day. Actually, we'd been here about 4 or 5 weeks, and I said to Morgan, I feel like we're just getting over the Sedona energy now. Like it just came out of me. So I think it was a very complex, multifaceted kind of experience when you go there and stay as active as we were staying. But because there was a lot of stuff going on. And it was, I think more importantly, it was not what was going on, like the things that we've talked about on the show, or I've talked about that experience over the last 2 or 3 weeks. I've mentioned it several times about the androgynous beings and the frequency of divine union, which is being reflected in the physical with couples and androgynous beings and all the different gatherings, and the intel that Morgan got that before we went that this was going to happen, and then as it happened, there would be pulsations go out from these power points, and there were many Sedonas around the world. So I think what's exciting about it is that it was a small reflection of what was happening collectively. And I think maybe the question is, because if you think about that period of time, the last part of September, first part of October, it had a certain frequency. But since, like, say, the 5th of October, the 10th of October, up until just a couple of days ago, it was an MF. And everybody was on board with that. Everybody was saying, whoa, maybe that was the integration period. Maybe that was the integration period. But yeah, I think that was huge for the world. And right in time, almost like preparation for tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been saying too, and I wrote it in our personal group. December the 31st, of course, is where the veil is the thinnest. That's for one. Mm. We have today and tomorrow, which we honor the Day of the Dead, all raw. So a lot of the energy as well with the portal energy, since yesterday was 11/1, we're going to have this energy frequency that's going to go through 11/11.
And time went back an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
When it rains, it pours. No wonder I saw a black cat and walked under a ladder and broke a mirror. Yep. So Carol Thorpe said, we need a World Soul Train meeting. Oh my God, imagine. So that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to roll out the website in about 10 days and start developing regular shows once we get this thing, the basics down. But we're going to be broadcasting probably from 11/11, if not 11/12, 11/13, but certainly before the David Icke show, 11/18. We'll be broadcasting from the website and doing our best to get people over there to basically, it's not a subscription, but just to, because eventually it's going to have a personal profile-based social community. So we're just going to have people come in and they don't, it's just a contribution-based, just like Soulogy's always been. But just sign up with your email and your name or whatever name you want to use. And then we can start to develop a community there and expand with it, because it's all going to be built by all of us. It's not going to be built by me or Morgan or Michael or Delia or Marina or any of the other team members or any of the team members to come. So I'm excited about that. But so, yes, we will be having a continuous Soul Tribe meeting 24/7 with multiple channels. It just won't be necessarily in the physical, but it'll be virtual, which is right in the middle between the physical and non-physical.
That, and of course, we always have the etheric ones.
That's right. Yes. I don't know, man. Michael, you writing any new poetry?
Let me see. I think the last two pieces I wrote were for you and Morgan.
Oh yeah.
What about you, brother?
I was working on something the other night with the guitar, but I hadn't played the guitar in 8 years. But the funny thing is, I played for like 4 hours and my calluses, they've been gone, and they came back in one day after they got pus in them and blistered a little bit.
I heard. Are you working on one more cup of coffee?
No.
Soon.
Yeah, that's a great song, though. It's a fantastic song.
I love that song.
There's a movie I saw. The trailer to, Morgan showed it to me yesterday, and then I saw it last night, called The Phenomenon. It just came out on Netflix. I don't usually go watch the UFO stuff anymore because I feel like I've got enough information, but there's something about that movie, that trailer, that looks very interesting. It's some retired general. I saw part of it, and I don't know, it just looks different. I don't know. There's something about the physicality of the ET or the Star Family showing themselves or a simulation of them showing themselves, it's in my field right now. Like, it just feels like there's going to be more of a merging. If we're doing this inside of ourselves, it's going to have to happen. Like, what are we doing inside of ourselves? We're obtaining a higher truth of ourselves. And we're doing that by dissolving the illusionary parts of us, which are really not dissolving, we're transforming, because it just got transformed and altered. So this is where that zero pointing and the polarities integrating comes in. So that's got to happen on the collective level. It's not just going to be transparency about what goes on behind government and religion and all that other stuff that's blowing up the conspiracy and disclosure platforms. It's going to be about higher truths and higher realities. And just like we are clearing space to bring in more light into our bodies, we're also clearing space to bring in more fright into our bodies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
More exposure of the psyche wounds. Because there's one thing about like far out truths, like let's say some spaceships landed tomorrow or whatever, however this rolls out or whatever it is, we can handle it. Is I guess what I'm saying. It's almost like a catalyst for facing more truth, or catalyst for facing more fear, like the person asked earlier, how do you get through the fear? I mean, there's one thing's for sure, there's no question, you cannot expand and grow and evolve and transform without facing fear after fear after fear after fear. And I don't see it going away, and that's not a bad thing.
No.
Well, I think it's also too is that, of course, they're in a higher vibration per se, a lot of those beings that are out there. And for a person, depending on who they meet, are matching the high vibration, because as far as I know, all the people they've also met or have contact have higher aspects with themselves and connection towards their essence, also recognition.
Wow, that's cool. I never thought about that. Because the only thing originally, the only thing you would see is like some Hollywood movie showing somebody getting taken up and, probed and a very kind of a scary horror movie type of frequency but that makes sense. That makes sense because if I think about it right now, some of the people that I know that have had experiences that I can think of, in this moment, they were all high vibrational people.
So this comes along with the UFO group that we meet up at the East Bay area. They all are basically all intuitive.
Wow.
All of them. So when we have speakers, and then we've had people in the past kind of be like, I don't know, kind of spies.
Really?
The people are kind of act weird and they're just checking to see what we know or whatever. Their energy tells them already. They're telling on themselves. And I've had instances when we had somebody and my friend Homer, brought the top piece of his pyramid, which is related to the Palladius, and there was an activation going on. And somebody was speaking, and all I kept having is everybody was in discomfort, and I could feel the energy. And he was working the energy in the room, trying to elevate it up. And when we all went to dinner later, we were like, oh, yeah, there's something there. I wasn't trusting in his words. And somebody mentioned something while we were having dinner conversation in the corner of my eye. I saw what they were talking about. In the entire time, everybody kept telling each other, I don't feel that's the truth. I don't feel that's the truth. Wow. So it's interesting. And all the people that I've met that have had experiences have been high vibrational. And that also includes my dad, who had always had experiences seeing UFOs. I've had experiences with myself. My brothers and sisters had experiences where they thought it was a dream while they were talking to me, and one of them is telling me her story, and I was like, that does not, there was that veil, that thing where they put down over you, that completely just eliminated, and she remembered everything, and she freaked out. She cannot even talk about what happened to her.
Wow. Wow, that's something to think about. So just in a nutshell, you have a UFO group. I know that. I didn't know y'all went this in depth. Somebody comes in, everybody can feel the energy. The second thing being people that have had these experiences. We're not saying this is gospel, but we're just, I'm just coming to this for the first time. Tend to be higher vibrational. Yeah, that's pretty trippy. Somebody wrote something here a second ago. Yeah. So do you think the great shift in consciousness has to do with Sirius on its way back, being binary with our sun and propelling us into the golden age? And I'm not talking specifically about this. Thank you for the question. But even like the Nibiru thing, I've heard the 3,600 years and of course the 6,000 years and the 12,000 years. And we know the deluge was about then. We know Atlantis went down about then. The 26,000 years. Honestly, this is just me personally. I don't believe any of that shit. None of it. Okay. I don't even know in regard to the star family thing. In terms of it being a physical, literal thing, like you're there and I'm here. I don't know, and I don't know one way or the other. And the reason I'm saying this is because how do I not know that I'm not if I'm everything, I'm everything. And all these things that are outside of me are me. And these are creations that came from me. I am God. I am the goddess, right? Like, I don't know. To me, it's no different than the potential, the external distraction in the physical earth realm. So I've kind of like personally just kind of mostly moved past that. Mostly. Still get caught up in, hey, is Q going to do this and Trump going to do that, and are the spaceship's going to land, and is the Agarthians going to come out of the South Pole? But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that level or literal aspect, potential aspect of prophecy, Michael?
Yeah, I'm with you. Actually, I feel that this reality is an inner projection to the outer, and that there is one monadic essence.
Yeah.
And I call that essence spirit. The universe, whatever spiritual synonym feels comfortable for each soul. But I think that this essence is moving back into the remembrance stage. And so all of those experiences, while they're real, and I know all of us have had, or most of us, I'm sure watching, have had transrational experiences, transcendental experiences, where we've seen, different entities vibrating at different densities. I know that's been my experience. But I think what we're moving into is what you talked about, which is the transformation of energy back into a neutral state where consciousness becomes a focal point and is no longer conditioned by the perception of experience that's become stagnant in the psyche. So for me, all of the different higher realms and lower realms are just fragmented aspects of the one experience of consciousness having a multitude of realities. And I feel like all those realities are being like kind of pulled into a vortex right now. And what's going to come back out is instead of countless aspects of the universe experiencing the world in a way where their perception is painted by the degree of fear and love within their form, it's going to be a clear aperture point of just love.
Yeah.
So, and I do think that one of the things we're moving out of also is all forms of ideation and ideology. So just having an experience and no longer labeling it. So it's like if you have an exchange from different realms, like for me, like 2 nights ago, I had a dream where like a lower, denser aspect like came at me, and I just put my hand forward and I just stopped the energy because I said, this is an aspect of the all. Yeah. And then it just dissolved in my dream, and then I woke up. So I think we're just like moving to the stage of no thought, right? Where consciousness is no longer dictated as multiple spheres, but it's just going to be one experience, and then whatever is moving through that form, it brings something into the center. So it's like even right now, like how you see, like I talked about this a while ago, like, and Not to, but I just feel like the conspiracy that's been vital for the awakening. It's been vital to create a bridge to cross a threshold from one world to the next. But once you wake up as everything inside of everything, witnessing everything that is only you, then a lot of these roles are either going to be dissolved or evolve and experience themselves from a deeper dimension of awareness.
Yeah.
So I feel that.
I mean, Morgan has said since the day I met her, a copy is a copy is a copy. So they're sacred flower of life. And there's a strong argument now that there's a new flower of life developing, right? You can call it age of duality, the Trinity, or whatever you want to call it. But if a copy is a copy is a copy, and we're made in the image, the God, goddess, Godhead, whatever you want to call it, is a multidimensional, energetic being.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? That started in a central core entity or energy, and then expanded multidimensionality with full consciousness, or at least having that connection of all its other aspects. So that you're basically saying this is what's happening, and and I think one thing that I haven't asked anybody this, but it seems to me that this year, especially, even like we're doing the show, that people are more and more they're openly recognizing their multidimensionality. They're not considering it a daydream or a lucid dream or whatever, imagination, or wishful thinking, whatever. People are acknowledging their multidimensionality. They may not have an absolute clear channel to communication with it, but it's subtle. It's there. It's that, what do you call it? That thread that, there's that thread is there. And like Morgan was talking about, you were referring to in regard to the show last Friday about tapping into the morphic field, tapping into what you want.
Right.
Anything you want is available. Everything is available. And this is, to me, these are signs of where we're headed. And I think we're headed there very fast. I think 1221 it may not be the line in the sand, but it's a big, big marker. It's a big signpost or, threshold on the road that is or has been decided collectively, which is really all of us. But it feels like Franco talking about this system won't last 2 to 3 years, regardless of who wins the election. This is the very recent intel that he received.
Yes.
I mean, the writing's on the wall, basically.
Yeah.
There's no separation.
Yeah.
Even regardless of the choices that they're given or what people feel like they're given. At this moment, it's no longer that anymore. And we're pushing towards the spirituality aspect of the human soul to really merge forward and really ask itself, who do you want to be? Who do you want to honor? System or soul?
Yeah.
And just to get back to that part with the whole Q and theories and everything else, conspiracy as well as myths, I totally agree. I mean, I grew up with paranormal. That's my thing. So I've always been around it. So, and also have a curandera as a teacher during process of healing. I saw what tainted man in the soul and overpower are capable of doing. So with this whole thing that happened with Q and everything else, I took it in, but at the same time, I was grateful for the expansion towards the information. But then again, it was just like, yeah, okay, I know that. What else there to do? If I was called to do some healing onto something, I went and did that. I honor those lines to collapse and then move on to something else. I don't pay attention to those. And at this moment, when people bring up these things and they're so tied into it, and I even see the spiritual community really, really honing onto that. They're like not willing to expand further. And they're pro this, pro that, anti this, anti that. And it's like, it's noise. It's separation.
Yeah.
That's not who we are. We are definitely the soul mergence to becoming unity consciousness. This is what, from 2021, it really feels like we need to move forward and pushing through. Those that want to continue collapsing programs are going to start seeing it right away, and they're going to start working and manifesting things quicker for the betterment of humanity, for themselves, in being a co-creator.
Here, here.
When you talked about Franco and the intel he got, actually, this isn't completed yet, but I just started writing this yesterday. But it just talks about, it says, the death of the outer church, the birth of the inner temple, the death of the politician, the birth of intuitive governance, the death of self-interest, the birth of altruism, the death of culture, the birth of the monadic spirit and form, the death of belief, the birth of knowing, the death of the Christian, the birth of the Christ. And I think that, like, the very last one is, obviously it's an archetype for all religion and all belief systems, and belief systems transcend just religion. Like, in the spiritual communities there's belief systems, within families there's belief systems. We have held belief systems bound by energy about each other, people, humanity, culture, race. So I think it's like what you said, what Franco said, is everything that was created in the old, it can't come to the new. And there isn't people that are kind of lost in this restructuring, right, of what's happening right now. Like, so we'll use the president, for instance. His role is to illuminate and mirror all states of separation that are still not uncovered within each form. And that's also being mirrored to his counter, right? Who he's running against. So that's the role. If people think the role is that he's going to teach us about pure consciousness, or if they think he's the paragon of virtue, then they're still seeing through the optics of their own separation.
Yeah.
So
right.
What we're experiencing is we're literally leaving duality. So anything that carries the vibrational signature within the psyche of duality, or is projecting that out into the world, that literally will be dissolved. So what's gonna happen is, and you see it all over the world, is we're gonna create a new. And the opening for that is happening within each of us watching, the three of us speaking, right? And it's also in bearing witness to every role being holy, like, right? Like, if you don't see that Donald Trump and Joe Biden's role, they're both divine.
Yes, of course.
They're both
Absolutely.
divine, right? So if you still have a lean, or if you still feel like you, like, oh, I love this person, I hate this person. No, I love that person, I hate this person. You're still not understanding that everything is perfectly placed, and it came into the physical with a very, very specific role. The death of the savior complex.
Yeah, there's a couple of great comments here. Andrew at Soulogy. Andrew, if you want to come on, send us a message to soulogynetwork@gmail.com, please. Thank you. The candidate's choice only impact how fast we arrive. One candidate will be like walking, the other will be like taking a plane to reach the destination, but either way we arrive. That's what Franco said. And he actually told me that before we did the show. We met privately a couple of days earlier about some other stuff. But that's pretty much how he explained it. I don't know if one's a walk and one's a plane ride, and then Morgan says those belief systems, which is what you were saying, those belief systems and programs are our own veils of separation. When we unify them, neutralize them, we open ourselves up to universal intelligence, which is love. So I think that's that's cool, because maybe what's happening, because we are fusing the physical and the mind, and the brain is part of that. And maybe there's a part of the human that has to understand before it can go forth. Maybe not to the full degree, but beyond the subtle intuition. Like there's a fusion between cognitive and intuitive, right? And I guess what I'm saying is maybe when people start to accept and understand that when they 0 point, that they're actually opening themselves up to code, knowledge, and then with their free will, thoughts, words, and action, they become a living wisdom, a higher frequency. If people, I wonder if people are headed to a point where people will start to accept that. That's not a religion, and it's not a science. It's like in between, if you're looking at it from the human eyes. So I wonder if that's where we're headed, where people will start to recognize fully that, with that not just cliche, but fully to live as so many people that watch this show do, which is honoring themselves first, holding themselves responsible and accountable. It's never them, it's always me. And that's the first order of the day every single day. Yeah, I don't know.
That's one of the biggest things that when connecting with the Arcturians had said many, many times, when spirituality merges with scientific and the quantum of it finally realizes and honors the fact that they're both the same within the void of creation, when we, humanity, will have a bigger leap in the expansion of the human consciousness.
Yeah. That's Soulogy, spirit and science.
Well, there's a few people besides Deepak Chopra and Amit Sawami. I hope that we're able to get him on. But he's a quantum physicist who I love to listen to, because he brings up the spirituality point when he was going through, I would say, his own dark night of the soul, when he was disillusioned with quantum physics because he couldn't be a Nobel Prize winner and he was like missing the point. When he finally realized the spirituality aspect of it, the power of overall thought process and energy, that really shifted him. And he was regardless of everything else, it's becoming a bigger topic now. It's that quantum physicists that bring the bridge over the spirituality into a more way to be expanded.
Okay, so this is a great segue. This is synchronicity. Jenny Smith, who puts up the best comments on these shows and has for a couple of years, she's got this quote from Charlie Freak, and I'm gonna throw something out there. Now that you brought up the quantum thing, okay? According to Charlie Freak, the upcoming solar flare on 12/21/20, December 21, 2020, there will be a burst of photonic light from the Creator, which will turn off junk DNA. Rapture means to rise. Light will activate us and will enable clarity. Now, here's where I'm at with this. If I look at the quantum part, okay, and I look at what she's quoting Charlie Freak on, which I've heard before, and I'm not taking anything away from Charlie Freak. We're going to try to get him on the show. But I heard it in 2019. I heard it in 2018. I heard it every year going back to 2012. Mm-hmm. You know, Morgan read a post to me 2 nights ago by somebody who's been out in the community a long time. I don't really resonate with, but I listened openly. And I'd read the words that person wrote in this long post about what's coming. So I guess what I'm trying to say is this a quantum environment? Are we not making this happen? Can we not change things in the moment instantly? Can we not do these magical, alchemic, huge cosmic transformations and affect all timelines and dimensions? I have an issue. Maybe it's resistance or maybe it's attachment to what I just said. I have an issue with these prophecies, these forecasts. If it happens, it happens, and everything's fine. But I feel personally, innately, that I have more power. That itself is disempowering to me. And I'm not trying to be a preacher, and I'm just trying to say this is truly a place, a crossroads that I'm at in my heart. And if I have to choose one road or the other, it will be that I am self-evident, and I am self-governing, and I am the I am, right? I don't know. I just don't want to see people give their power away to a Q movement or to anything, including a a revelation type of prophecy.
Yeah, I think that too, like going along with what you said, it's in the giving the power away is when we just wrap our energy around something coming outside of us. And whenever you separate yourself from the collective, right? Like I love how you say Soulogy is a spirit, or the poetry is a spirit, right? Like the thing about Soulogy and about the poetry, about your poetry, my poetry, is that all of these things are inclusive, expansive. Like everything is a part of all of it. I just think that every time we start to separate ourselves or identify with anything, that's what you're talking about. We do start to lose power because first off, we're just giving energy to it. And then sometimes we're unconsciously wanting to escape the what is,
Yeah.
And from my experience, and although, spiritual awakening and Kundalini, it very much depends on the individual as far as like we all go through the experience sort of different. But at the same time, like the energy itself, like it clears similarly as far as the body would implode if we shifted all at once. Like we have to go through a progression. Like there's just like when you're giving birth, right? Like you can't just say, oh, I want this baby out of me in 2 months instead of 9, right? There's like everything in nature is there's this law and there's this progression that is to be honored. And something that I just think is, really useful, something that I've been doing is just allowing it to show up. Like the experience will show up. So when people ask me, who do you think's going to win the election? Who do you want to win the election? Like, I'm like, we'll all know it's about to happen. We'll see what's supposed to happen. It's all about to unfold.
Yeah.
Let's have these experiences. Let's see what shows up, And then you're not giving your energy, you're just meeting experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I was feeling that last night, and that massive amount of information that came in after we lay down and after she channeled a little bit. And that's kind of what was happening to me. And I was having out of body. I mean, my eyes were open. I could feel my energy around the room. I could feel my energy as one with Morgan. It was very, very multifaceted, multidimensional. But the one thing that came in was what you just said. And it was like, dude, I am nothing. Like, I was like, I am nothing. What does that mean? I'm everything. It's like that dual, that paradoxical dual, communication truth from the universe. And then I was like, you're just here to experience this. Because I was thinking, God, I need to go to sleep. And then I went and laid on the couch. My eyes are wide open, no phone, no TV. And I'm thinking, what is this? And I just kept hearing, just experience it. Don't get, become disempowered or whatever, or handicapped by thinking you're in a sleep cycle and that it's the end all cure all. You'll be fine tomorrow. Whatever comes tomorrow, if you're tired, if you're 10 minutes late, so what's new, right? Which is what happened. Yeah, it was so funny because that's what I was feeling like. Almost like don't fight it, just feel it. Like what you said earlier about how do you overcome fear. I was actually laying in there last night because everything was being presented, and I started to feel like a little kid. When I was a little kid, I had these certain reptilian type nightmares and aspects, let's put it this way, aspects of me that would present themselves to me and scare the shit out of me. And then over time, even into my adult life, even when I went on my spirit walk, it all kind of cleared. And then last night, it was like where the universe pushes you to a certain point and goes, okay, what about this? And what about this? And what if this happened? And what if this appeared before you? And what if everything you think is full of shit? What about that? But all of that was me, as I understood it. Like, it's all me. and just then you just experience it. I don't know. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I'll bring up too is even Dr. Joe Dispenza that talks about other things and other different things than experiments that they've done. So they have a machine and they have ducks and they train the machine and move around with the ducks. So when the ducks moved, the machine's supposed to be only trained to move at a certain pattern. The machine moved alongside with the ducks and it was not trained that way. So there's an influence also of the law of attraction in the energy with even ducks. And the same thing with
true. Good comment.
Binary machine that was supposed to come up with a frequency of like ones and zeros.
Yeah.
When somebody was putting energy towards having and changing an effect towards that machine generating a different frequency. And it sure did. It is also the intent behind it. So if you believe or don't believe what's coming in, regardless of those photonic energy particles that are coming out, I mean, the Schumann resonance has been coming. We have solar storms coming. We get hit nonstop left and right with energy. And it's up to us to integrate that frequency and fine tune. If we start listening to our bodies and we start speaking to our bodies and we start integrating some of that energy to how it wants and allow it to be and experience that. Because it's no longer the noise from outside. Sure, everybody, entire world is also looking at what's coming up. But in the end of the day, what's happening, what you're doing, it's in your entire focus is what's in front of you. And that's what we can only live with, what is in front of us. What can we do at the certain moment, at the certain time that we are, and how we can proceed from then. That's the only way we can do. Because the noise can be there when we can lose our sight and focus, and it's just going to throw us off. We're just feeding our power away to the external.
Yeah, I agree. Listen to this comment from Hung Nguyen.
I was just reading that one.
My friend, the Dragon Queen. The
Can
Dragon
you bring
Lady.
it up? Or is it...
It won't fit. Oh. So she says, honestly, this is very thought-provoking, which to me what it's all about.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think it's about giving power away or empowering yourself anymore. The present system is about manifesting your current focus. Okay. Whether that be about creating a narrative where something outside of you saves you, when in actual fact you just created that. So essentially you saved yourself. Or if you internalize your power as your own savior, it's all the same. There is no value on energy. No one judges 30 watts versus 100 watts. They are all valid. It just depends on what you want to power up to efficiency, what efficiency you want to power up to. Let me go back to this. The present system is about manifesting your current focus, whether that be about creating an area or something other. The present system is about manifesting your current focus. So all of that, and I think it's very thought-provoking, and I appreciate it. This is what stands out the most. The present system about manifesting your current focus. Who do you love? Who do you want to be with? What do you want to do? How do you want to express yourself? Right? Like I get that. And I also get what the rest of what she's saying too. Some people want to walk into a room and have 100-watt bulbs. Some people want to walk into a room and have soft lighting. What's your preference? Right? Like, I get that too. Thank you for that. Crazy woman. She's crazy. Crazy as hell. I've met her.
Someone wrote on here, I think Beth wrote, don't analyze it, just experience it. And I think that I like that. I think that sort of experience comes from the complete neutralization of all the energy that was once displaced or stuck, you know?
But can we? I'm not saying we can't, because I'm the absolute optimist in any situation as far as possibilities go, but can we experience it without analyzing? I mean, this is like a human thing, right? Like, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier about the intuitive, and you might call it the rational, right? Yeah. Like I used to write about this space between breaths, which wasn't total intuitive, and it certainly wasn't the the human brain, the human loops, right? It's somewhere in between. Well, why wouldn't it be that way if we're integrating everything else? If we're in a duality, integrating polarities, and we're finding that that is the path to ascension, or whatever you want to call it, change in the outside world or whatever, why would that be any different? Are we straight intuitive? Is there not is the balance of the intuitive and the rational cognitive thought form more powerful? I don't know. It's interesting.
That's a good question. Or is it just another experience, a different way that consciousness wants to experience, right?
Who do you want to be with? What do you want to do? What do you love? To me, that's like becoming like the simplest thing. Like what you said earlier today. So that jumped out at me. What I just pulled out of what she wrote jumps out at me. But the first thing was, what are you creating? Like when you said those words to me, it was like, that's the moment.
Yeah.
Like, what are you creating? I woke up Saturday morning or Sunday morning. I woke up Sunday morning after probably 2 or 3 weeks of a building up of hang on, I just wet my pants. Not kidding. She hands me a note. No, it totally threw me off. I just had a Kundalini experience. I just had a soulgasm. She showed me something. I read it. Okay. Oh, so I woke up after about 10 days. It's been building longer, like I guess all of 2020 for everything, right? It seems like you can say 2 weeks ago that started, but it really started, right? And I got to this point Sunday morning. I said, okay, I'm going to do something. And I've done it before. I'm going to make a couple of lifestyle changes. I've got work to do, right? And I thought, I'm just going to plug away. This is what I'm getting. It's not what I'm going to do. It's what I'm getting. Just plug away every day. Just move into your creativity every single day. Do it at your pace. Don't put any pressure on you. This is where I'm at now. I feel like I needed to serve my body so it will be in alignment with the flow of my other bodies, or whatever you want to put it. And that's kind of where I'm at. And the reason I brought that up is because of what you said, because there's no mistakes. There's no coincidences. And you said, what are you creating? I do not. I might watch Outlander 1 or 2 nights, but even in the what's the right word? Not heavy energy or intense energy, but even when the energy is spiking or whatever, like we've all been acknowledging that happened the last couple of weeks of October, I still feel like the creativity is the way to put it out, because it does take the thinking out, right? Like Morgan will say, when I'm in balance, she'll say, go pick up the microphone and turn on the live. Because in that moment, that's why I love lives. In that moment, you just lose yourself, like Eminem says, right? You know what I mean? So I don't know. It just like takes the thought out of it. Yeah,
I love that too.
Israel liked that comment. Israel liked that comment when you said Eminem, lose yourself.
Hell yeah. It's one of the best videos I did out of the old studio is that song. Because my family had, that's when I first came out, my family had went on to one of my posts and said, what a crock of shit. So I woke up and turned on Lose Yourself, and I just started freestyling. It was pretty cool. I'll have to find it and send it to him.
I really do love the fact that creativeness is the one thing that's coming up more and more and more again. And that is exactly because we have the responsibility to ourselves to co-create. Co-create responsibly, as well as when we're manifesting. Because this is like the beautiful thing that I've even used. I mean, I manifested my job. And then I said to a friend, it's like, if I manifested a job, I'm going to manifest a place, and I'm going to manifest other things, and it's slowly going to go and progress. And today, driving towards to use the internet at work, and I was like, I'm feeling the creativity. I'm really feeling the creativity.
Right
so
on.
I'm really loving the fact of the energy, that we're riding that energy wave of that frequency. And one of the biggest things that I used also for co-creating and manifesting was like, I want to be in a creative space. So the space that I will be at, they have people that musicians, artists, and I'm like, This is the frequency I can be with. This is where I will feel that there's also growth. So then we also think about, and we're shifting towards how we want to create. Where do we want to be? And in this sense, who do you want to love? What do you want to do that you love? And falls into the passion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I think's interesting about creating is, I think once it hits its purest form, it's just happening to us. Like I don't, like when the poems come in from the deepest dimension, they come in on their own account because they want to, their own way, right? Like it doesn't matter what I'm doing, they just want to enter. So it's like before it was like we were unconsciously creating with our pain, and now as we open back up, we're still being created through, but we're just moving into alignment with the will of the one,
Yeah. And trying to find that thing from where we're at, because we're not 100% whatever as the God source is, or the one true soul or oversoul is. We're still in this incredible space of being a human in transition, which is bringing something to the universal experience. We got a couple of comments. I gotta do this.
Yeah.
We got to get Charlie Freak on. I hope Jenny Smith can help us do that. So this is a quote from Charlie Freak. No one experiences anything bad when living in the now, as you cannot have a karmic moment when living in the now. Okay, so now I'm not trying to be funny, but so Morgan came in here and I had to pull up she had sent me a note on Messenger, but I didn't have it open, so I didn't see it. She says, you do that in our intimacy. No words, no thought, just experience.
Yeah.
And I just went there for a second. That's why I had a Kundalini thing. But the seriousness of it is, from my own standpoint, this is just me, the core of my embodiment of what I've been, what's been revealed to me and what work I've done and all that is in sacred sexuality. So if I think about that, who do you love? What do you love doing? And we're talking about creativity, and we're talking about the chatter stops, even if is it between the chatter and the intuitive right in the middle, or what? Whatever that is. But I think that's why, and this is another download I got last night, I could actually see us, it was with David Icke, and I was saying to him, what do you know about sacred sexuality? Because here's a man who's researched a lot of stuff like Robert Sipper. And if you go back into history and you look at Helios Gamos merging, you look at sexuality, and not in terms of the modern world, it was a very sacred thing, especially back in the day when the goddess was the godhead of all we're talking pre-Sumerian even, right? But yeah, so there's something about that's the sacred sexuality vibration that doesn't necessarily mean it's unique only to physical intimacy, and nor does it mean it has to be romantic. This is a physicalized representation of the energy of something incredible, and anyone that's had sacral or root or any chakra type of orgasm knows what I'm talking about. There was one other thing somebody asked, because they said it had been coming up in their field for 3 weeks, which is a pretty good question. What does cognitive mean? So just so everybody has a clear understanding, and I just kind of had a review. Here, I didn't realize it was all this thick with it. The mental action or process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, experience, and the senses. And I'm assuming the 5 senses. So that's what I get, like, even years ago was like, there's a space between pure intuition and pure cognitive thinking. You know what I mean? Pure human thinking and pure intuition. And I feel that's a very relevant, if not the 0 point space of being present.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't throw the human out, the baby with the bathwater. You know, it honors the human as much, the cognitive, the rational, as much as it does the intuitive. It honors the man, the human, as much as the God, the creator and the creation, that which created and that which was made in the image as the creation, you know?
Yeah.
Like she says, a copy is a copy is a copy. So,
and when you're talking about that, about sacred sexuality or sacred sexual experiences, it's the immersion, and that immersion is actually able to be reached like in other ways as well, like that being an athlete,
yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
a dancer, you know, where you reach like a lot of children. This is what I coached for years when I was younger. And I used to always tell children, remember why you first played the sport, why you joined the sport. Like at first you just joined because you want to be immersed. You love the feeling, you love the experience, you're expressing yourself. And if you look at sex, sports, dance, everything becomes tainted and lost, and we lose the sacredness and the feeling when thought starts to enter, when we start to compete, when we overthink our performance, when we want to win. But if we always remember the first reason we did everything, it was always a sacred experience of immersion.
Yeah. An innocence, the arm of curiosity reaching out for something. And you're right. And I'm glad you brought that up because it needs clarification, because we do get confused with, you know, you fall in love, you live happily ever after, whatever, you know. And that is that what we're talking about, the sacred sexuality, is only part, because you'd have to talk to Morgan, because I can't explain this stuff thoroughly and fluidly and articulate it the way she can, but it's only a part of something bigger that I don't even know that there's a word for, which is, you know, aspects of Christ consciousness, divine masculine, divine feminine, sacred sexuality, and I forget what the other one is. I don't get in trouble for that. I'm just kidding. But so it is like everything else. And again, a copy is a copy. I am the creator, so I am creating what? Energetically, I'm creating what is within myself. And so that sacred sexuality is first and foremost found within myself, just like Christ consciousness, divine masculine, divine feminine, right? Yeah. It's found within myself. And therefore, it can be replicated in a sibling relationship, in a friend relationship, in what we would call a pet and human relationship, a relationship with music. I know that in my own case, my sacred sexuality blossomed in 2015. It began to really come out. And that's when I met Morgan. That's when I started to mix music with words. And regardless of what it looked like on the outside of whatever, say, the body of work is, whether it be soul speak music videos or shows or whatever, it was the experience of creating it in the dance with the universe that I got many, many signs, and they're on video, and you can see it, the evidence. But the experience itself was a sacred sexual awakening. And it makes perfect sense that that's when I met her and we started merging.
Wow.
You know? So
she wrote a comment, two comments.
Yeah.
I was just getting back to all the creativity when you're going into the flow of your soul. When you tap into that and you start merging with that essence, that sound, that music, and you start connecting with it, it really lights that up even more. So to me, I mean, I've only experienced soul merging. I've had it with Michael, and which is funny because sometimes I feel it. And then today, before he got on, I sent him the link and he was like, I was just looking for that. And I was like, I heard, send it to him. He's looking. So it's also that telepathy and that connection.
Yeah. That seems to be a symptom of it, or a characteristic of it.
And
So-
it has nothing to do with sexuality. It's just the co-creativeness.
No. Yeah, it's not. It like that's there are no words.
Yes, exactly.
Like you could say it's sacred sexuality, pure love, divine feminine, divine masculine, and Christ consciousness. And there's not even a word for that.
Yes.
It's a, like I wrote years ago, the universe is my twin flame. It's when you're engaged in the only thing I can relate to it now, because you don't care what anyone thinks. You are uninhibited. You are innocent, genuine. You're just unimpeded, and you just go for it, which is why there's such power in lives, in my opinion. Okay. The only thing I can equate to it is intimacy with Morgan, which by our past belief systems and experiences is not traditional or typical. It's not based on frequency. It's not based on anything performance. It's not based on anything like that. It does have the same elements that those experiences in 2015 that I had then, whether I was working alone in the studio or merging with her in the ethers. And that is a lack of inhibition, an innocence, a curiosity, a creative aspect that is ignited when you hit that space, and as you sustain it, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. It has nothing to do with the orgasm, physical orgasm.
The other stuff is just a plus, but overall, I think it's just becoming when you start beating to the drum of your own beat and you start saying, hey, this is me.
Yeah.
You're not afraid to even show yourself. It's like you show your ass and show your soul.
Well, it's like the telepathy that you were talking about with Michael, right? Like that's another, and here we go again. A copy is a copy, right? So, it's literally been the place that I can best measure myself has been that space, right? And that space can simply be like last night, holding the hands. She says a few things, she channels a few things, she goes quiet. 30 minutes later, her breathing's heavy, and it's a doorway. It's like I can't explain it, but I think that, well, I guess what I'm getting at, and even so, it's not a coincidence we're talking about this because this happened to me on the couches or in the early hours of the morning. Part of what I was getting was having conversations, and I could see David Icke, and I could see other people, but it was not about the people. It was the conversation. Like when these topics become household words or household topics or household conversations, which is only impeded by a lack of awareness and an acceptance. That's why I say we will be, and I don't mean Soulogy, I mean this energy, one of the names of its Soulogy or one of the locations of its Soulogy, whatever you want to say it, we will be mainstream. We will be mainstream. And part of the reason we'll be mainstream is because everything, what did Franco say? Anything that is rooted in duality or 3D or whatever you want to call it will not last. So only the purity will last because that's the only thing that's true. Yeah. It's funny how we start slow on these things.
We get deep into it.
I'm just like, I could barely even move the first 30 minutes. And Michael came right out of the block. We're talking, and Michael's like, he's doing his thing because I know he's in pain a little bit. Everybody's saying Michael's, and then all of a sudden, boom, he comes out for 22 minutes, and he's just like, and he's like right on the money, man. Like, I'll have to edit that out. That was some serious freestyle, free flow.
Man, it's been powerful. I mean, I'm sitting here and I've come to almost feeling like close to tears just because of the energy of it and knowing how powerful it's becoming. And the code being exchanged and the people that are also on sharing code and the interactions that I'm seeing, it's beautiful. And it's amazing. So thank you everyone for joining.
Are you trying to get out here?
No.
I'm kidding with you.
I'm just-
I have to bring up one other thing. Okay. I have to do this because this was the dominant download if I had to guess, there was 1,000 downloads last night. And I shit you not. I mean, I'm being real with you. And but the dominant one was what Morgan was I guess she was talking to Michael about. Yeah, about thank you. You remember that?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think when she came out with that and she was talking about it, she was actually like pulling in space. Like you could see people over here going, what? And you could see people over here going, yeah, I get that. And then it was like doing like that. So throughout the night, because when Delia said crying, I thought about it. That's what happened. I was laying there for 3.5 hours, I think, on the couch from probably 2:00 till 5:30. And I was having all this stuff come in and it was integrating. You're past the point of what is it? Because it just go boom. It's so fast. Like you just let it go. And I kept thinking, I want to go wake her up and I want to tell her how much I love her. Right. And I would like tear up. I'm like, why? Like I was almost like, why is this happening? And so the human was immediately, okay, I want to go tell her this. Right. And, but then that other part came in and it was like, you don't have to tell her. We don't have to. I get it. I got it in that moment. I got it deeper because I got it before, but I got it deeper. It was like, look, you either believe in telepathy, you believe you merged with this woman on the other side of the world for 1.5 years before you met her. You believe that you travel. You believe that you're not just imagining when you astral and go places, because I do, or you don't. So if that's the case, then go about your business and don't even consciously, I need to show her this way. Or like Michael said on that show, I need to open the door for her. No, you don't. You're a tuning fork.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I
just go ahead. Yeah.
No. Yeah. When that part of the conversation, when Morgan was talking about that, I think she was referencing Marina and even how she could feel like, I think where Marina's so grounded in what she does and what she brings, that there's no part of her energy field that's looking for external validation.
Yeah.
Right. And that is because gratitude and virtue and everything that is unlocked it becomes a feeling experience, which is nonverbal. Yeah. I thought that was a big one in the conversation when Morgan expressed that. And she was just talking about all of these things as programs and all of them becoming obsolete, from conviction to forgiveness to thank you. Right. Like, because none of those things exist in the new experience, because it's a feeling experience. And we had lost feeling. We lost
That was
feeling.
a big one. Yeah, that was a big one where she also meant about the forgiveness part.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that made so much sense to a lot of different things. And I've been doing the process of zero pointing, and I was doing my mom and dad, and the emotion, all the energy behind it and everything else that I was feeling, I was like, there is no forgiveness to give.
Yeah.
There really isn't. And it was like,
that,
I'm here and I'm like, I just want to cry.
Isn't that crazy though? How you can make a list and as you're doing it, so there's like no connect. I don't see like this connection. Like you just start doing it and all of a sudden these things just start coming out. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. It's just, I think the other thing she said in that show about with Michael was how it's such a human process. Like the human is 100% present. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes when we get connected up there, we are up there, right? And the human's down here. we're playing in the Akashic or whatever the case is, and the humans down here. So sometimes that involvement or alignment with the human doesn't come very quickly. You know?
Yeah, there's like
Especially-
the translation kind of loses, and it
Well,
takes
yeah.
time to integrate.
Well, but the whole thing is like, so you pull something in up here, and then daily life happens, and you deal with it from up here. Well, it's not going to, balance out until you deal with it from everything you are, and that's kind of why I think that works so well. Yeah, the human's a fucking hero. You know that. What are you talking about? Well, we have a new meme. What was it? What'd you say about follow the system or follow the soul? Something like that.
I liked that.
Allison said she'll make that into a meme.
Someone wrote, Joseph wrote telepathic touching.
Telepathic touching, yeah. Absolutely.
I like that.
Absolutely. Well, all right. Delia, you go first. You got anything left? Anything else you want to talk about before we head out?
What else can I say? I'm just like, it's just so much energy, and I'm just gonna sit with it and stay present moment with it. It's just so beautiful. And seriously, good thing you guys, I turned off my song before that because I was actually singing.
You were. Can you
Well,
go ahead? Can you go ahead and sing something for us?
God, no.
Yeah,
it's
go ahead.
copyrighted. It's copyrighted.
It doesn't matter. Who cares? All right, just sing something a cappella for us. Try that.
Oh, I'm not a singer, but
You don't have to be.
Oh God.
Michael will tell you. I'll put you on the spot.
By the way, I'm really loving the fact that he's just emerging more.
I know.
It's it's amazing just to see that.
I know, man. He's
Who do you have on this Friday?
yeah. Who do you have on Friday, Michael?
Melissa Dehan.
Melissa D. What's the crack?
What's the crack? I adore her. She's a very inspirational being, and her writing is really powerful. If anyone isn't familiar with her writing, she has a group called Own Your Shift.
Own Your Shift.
Yeah, and then she's just great. I'm excited to explore with her, and I'm gonna have her read some poetry, and I might have her sing. No, I'm just kidding. She doesn't want
Melissa. Have her rap in that Irish thing. What's the crack? I have to get Marina's husband to put a rap, 80s style Soulogy rap together.
That was cool, huh?
Yeah.
What he made? That was really cool.
He's got another one coming too. Oh, that reminds me. I got to go because I'm supposed to meet with him in Israel. Why didn't it come up? It didn't come up on my calendar. Maybe I'm off an hour. I don't know. I have to go figure it out. I think I must be off. Yeah, I'm off. It's coming up later.
Oh, I see. No,
Well,
my sister's
Michael.
like,
Huh?
my sister's telling me about that song. No, I'm maybe some other time. But love you guys. Thank
Love
you
you
for sharing
too.
space with you guys.
Michael, you got anything else? Sorry. Hang on.
No,
Oh, you got. She's got to go to work. I got
No,
it.
I don't have to go
Oh,
to work, but you
Michael-
have to go another thing.
Michael, well, I don't know. I can't find it. I put it in here, but it's not showing up. Huh. But anyway,
No, just grateful to be here. See, now this is about the time I usually wake up. So now I'm ready. Now I'm ready to let's keep talking for another hour.
Oh, you want to go for another hour?
well, I'll tell you what, Michael, I'll hit you up on that later. I'm gonna let me just check real quick. I'm sorry about this. I just want to see what the schedule is so I can let everybody know. Okay, so it would be noon in Pacific. That's another hour, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, Michael, I'll hit you up because we don't have another show until 7 p.m. Eastern time, which is 4 p.m. East Coast time, or West Coast time. So we've been putting some stuff together to try to, I don't know, work with the frequency of Soulogy for the month of November. We got some great shows coming up, by the way. And I just want to tell everybody real quick, just so they have an idea of what we're putting together. So the week of David Icke, we got Marie Batchelor, phenomenal, Lori Ladd, David Icke, Sandra Walter, Mark McNichol, and Michael Mejia, and myself. Abigail Wainwright, who's freaking amazing. And then we got Dr. Joe, Stephen Popatek, who's amazing. Franco, Judith Kuzel, Jason Estes, Melina Ferguson, and it goes on and on. So we still got quite a few more to put in there. So, Michael, I'll hit you up later. I'm going to talk to Israel and see what we can do about the website. It's coming. And thank you, everybody, for your continued love and support and contributions that allow us to keep doing this by the seat of our pants every day, which is not a complaint. That's just how the 5D commerce and 5D frequency works. Nobody has a savings account, not energetically or otherwise. We operate in the now. So until next Monday, I love you both. Thank you so much for being in my life, for being part of Soulogy, and thank you, everybody, for coming on the live and the replay.
Love you
Peace
guys.
out.